All right, everybody, how we doing? Happy Tuesday to you. This starts to become the time of year where you're just wondering what day of the week it is. All right, going live today to talk to you a little bit about what's possible for 2025 with you starting a podcast, and also wanted to give a quick preview of what I'm launching this Friday on Black Friday. What a great day to launch a special, huh? But I've had some feedback based on some conversations I've had this year from people that want to start a podcast, but they don't have the resources to be able to hire someone to be able to go do that. Or you've got a team of people around you, an assistant, an admin, a marketing team, virtual assistants, whatever the case may be, that can support you in that process. So I thought, what does it look like to be able to create a solution where we hang out a couple of times a month. I do a training and we all tie everything together through an online community. You're seeing a lot of that starting to take place within the online space these days with mastermind groups and all communities and places basically where you want to go and learn from somebody that you want to do business with, you want to do something similar to what they're doing. So that's what I've decided to launch. It's going to be called the Podcast Builders Network, and I'm going to get into that, what all that entails in just a couple of minutes. But I want to spend a few minutes here just talking about what's possible with you starting a podcast in 2025, and more importantly, what can your business benefit from it, and how can you benefit from actually starting a podcast and utilizing it not only as a marketing tool, but as a networking tool? I think a lot of people confuse what they should be doing with a podcast with the actual goal or objective of it. And I'm trying to get my screen share here, but it's all good. So when we talk about the reasons why you want to start a podcast, I firmly believe, having been a podcaster for the past 14 years and helping people start a podcast for the past 7, I think it's 8. LinkedIn said it's 7, but it feels like 10. I found the two most effective ways of having a podcast is 2 reasons. Number one, it's the ultimate networking tool. The conversation of, hey, let's grab coffee. Hey, let's hop on a Zoom call. Hey, whatever it is where you're requesting someone else's time. That question is drastically different than, hey, Bob, would love to get you on the podcast if you're open to it. Now, you know exactly what you're doing when it comes to outreach to Bob or to Mary or to Jim or to whoever. You know that you're trying to get in front of this person because you want to do business with them. Well, the days of hard pitches and mass marketing and shoving your message down people's throats and following up 1,000 times, I firmly believe that ship has sailed, because not only has our ability and sales skills changed, but the way that people hear that, receive that, and what their buying style has drastically changed. I think the pendulum has shifted to the consumer, or the buyer, if you will, making a decision based on what they feel and know and what their friends and people they care about have to say about something. I think that content has a lot to do with that as well. When you have a conversation with someone and then they go look you up online after, and they see that all of the content you're creating is very similar to the conversation about what the conversation you just had with them about what you do and why you want to do business with them, it all starts to come together. So the number one reason you want to start a podcast is the ultimate networking tool. It allows you to get in front of people you couldn't ordinarily get in front of. It allows you to interview people you want to do business with, which ultimately increases sales, adds to your bottom line, helps your business grow. So what's the ROI of a podcast? The ROI of a podcast is how many conversations can you have with people that you want to build relationships with and do business with, and how many of those conversations that people can you convert into customers and clients? That's how you monetize a podcast. Are there other ways? Yes, there are. But this is a way that you can get started with right now. You could literally start a podcast tomorrow, start interviewing people you want to do business with, and close a deal somewhere within the reasonable future, near future rather. The second reason is because a podcast has an audio component. It has a video component. It allows you to take the podcast episode that you've recorded and chop that video content up into micro content for Reels and Instagram, and you can put the edited video on YouTube if you want. You can chop up the audio and throw it on images and create audiograms. This allows you to solve a majority of your social media content problems, a majority of them. Why? One podcast episode, multiple pieces of content. So just those two reasons are reason enough for you to get off the bench and get in the game and actually get a podcast started and launched. It's not as difficult as you think it is. There's a lot of do-it-yourselfers out there. I can do it. I usually disagree that if you have the resources and means to hire someone and get it off your plate, delegation will save you time and money forever for the extent of you being in business. One of my newest coaches and mentors, the great Dan Martell, just wrote a book, bestseller, Buy Back Your Time. And it's all about how you can literally invest into getting things off of your plate that don't need to be there so that you can spend time on things that you're deeply passionate about and that you absolutely. So be sure to go pick up Dan's book, Buy Back Your Time. It's available on Audible, also available in hard copy as well, too. It's a great read. Dan's a great guy. He's a straight shooter, wildly successful. He is the real deal. This training and this live video is not about Dan Martell, but you got to give credit where credit is due. Delegate, delegate, delegate. And that's why I mentioned that just now about delegating all of the podcast work. Now, maybe you're a solopreneur. Maybe you are a after-hours entrepreneur. Shout out to Mark Savant. You are then trying to figure out how to do the thing first, create the thing, and then get the thing off your plate. And if that's you, well, then the Podcast Builders Network is for you. Or maybe you're not a new business owner. Maybe you've got some free time. Maybe you can say, hey, Sebastian, I can dedicate an hour a week to figuring out how to start a podcast. I just need someone to tell me what to do. And that's exactly why I've designed the Podcast Builders Network. It's an online community. Let me see if I can switch my... Let's see here. There we go. Podcast Builders Network. There is, let's see here. This is inside the portal already, but when you sign up, you'll set up a profile, you'll get signed up, and you'll be put into our online portal, which is right here that you're seeing. The online portal is just similar to a Facebook or any social media platform. Members will be posting questions. I'll be posting in here. I'll be answering questions. You'll be able to network and interact with other members. So these are like-minded individuals, business owners, entrepreneurs, people that you want to be around. So this is a form of a mastermind group, but I'm calling it an online community for starters because it's your ability to get in and learn from me, to take what I got up here and me give it to you and you go do something with it. A big part of this is my course is included in the online community, the Podcast Builder Network. So as a paid member of the Podcast Builders Network, you have access to me through here. You have access to the other members. You have access to weekly trainings. You also have access 24/7, 365 days a year to my podcast masterclass, which is, listen to me very carefully, every single thing that I know about starting a podcast. I think I've identified around 14 steps. And I've taken those 14 steps and put them into modules with videos and downloads and homework. And you go through step by step. As you can see right here, you'll click Start Course, and it'll bring you right to the very beginning. every single module in here. Let's get started. Next steps and resource center, getting clear on your why, defining your audience, what type of show is it, how do I pick a name, podcast cover art, best tools to use, who can create one, podcast intro and outro, background music, recording, editing, podcast equipment must-haves, planning your show, structuring your episodes, recording your episodes, editing the podcast, finding an editor, tapping into my resources, and finding out how you can go and get these things off your plate for pennies on the dollar. It's possible. I promise you. I liberated myself the time I stopped spending all night editing podcast episodes and found freelancers to help take that work off my plate. Podcast hosting, how does it all work? Podcast marketing, how to create micro content, how to monetize your podcast, how to find podcast guests, how to interview somebody, how long should the interviews be, and then actually launching your podcast with a strategy. Again, this is every single thing that I know about starting a podcast, okay? So, Podcast Builders Network, and I'm going to drop a link in the comments wherever you're watching this, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. If you're on my email list, you'll get an email, a follow-up email to be able to sign up. You can sign up right now. Go to podcastbuildersnetwork.com. We're launching on Friday, but you can sign up right now. The pre-launch is happening technically right now because you can sign up, but the pre-launch is happening on Black Friday. I know it'll be a very noisy day because everyone and their brother's got a Black Friday special on here. But the membership will be $197 a month. The Black Friday special is $97 a month, and that locks you in for the extent of your membership. There is no commitment. There is no time commitment. I do recommend you stay in for at least 6 months. Invest $600 into launching a podcast. You'll have the show launch in less than 6 months if you do exactly what I tell you to do, and you follow my instruction, and you take the training that we do every single week, and you go implement what I'm teaching you. Now, in addition to my course being available, Masterclass, that's like that's the holy grail of being able to tap into me on everything I know about starting a podcast, go through it from start to finish. You're going to have everything you need to start a podcast. We'll also do weekly calls and events. So every single Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I know it says 11 right now. We're tweaking a couple things still. It is 11 o'clock. Is it 11? Maybe 12. 11 or 12. It's going to be every single Wednesday. We're going to do a live training for an hour to 90 minutes. I'm going to do a short training for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to open it up for Q&A for you to ask me whatever you want. So whatever you're working on, wherever you're at in the process, maybe you're just getting started, maybe you're almost about to launch, maybe you're in the middle of it, maybe you started and it doesn't matter. I know the whole process, so I can give you feedback and coaching along the way for every aspect of that, but we will do a call every single week. So part of your membership, $97 a month, gets you one training call every single week with myself and the group, 30 minutes of training, 30 to 45 minutes of Q&A, access to the portal where you can go in here, you can ask questions under the discussion, you can network with other people, you can ask me questions, and then of course getting access to my course as well. Tons of value in there for $97 a month, no time commitment, but the time is right now. Things are starting to slow down a little bit here with Thanksgiving starting, and of course we're moving into the holidays of December too. Great time to get in, sink your teeth in, give yourself a Christmas present, give yourself a Thanksgiving present, give yourself a whatever you celebrate, holiday present, of investing in yourself and your business of starting a podcast. The time is right now. You've been thinking about it. You've been considering it. I talked about it. I shoulda, I coulda, I woulda. The time is right now. You've got my support, the ability to jump into my sandbox. I'll hold your hand through the process, giving you a weekly training, supporting you through the online portal, the Podcast Builders Network, and then also giving you access to my course. You never know who you're going to meet in the group, other members. I've found phenomenal opportunities and success with being in the right room at the right time with the right people in community, mastermind groups, associations, whatever you want to call them. But it's very important. If you've ever read Think and Grow Rich, that's one of the ancient principles, is being in a mastermind group, being in community with like-minded individuals so that you can grow and you can better understand what you don't know that you don't know. But that's really the nuts and bolts of why I wanted to go live today. This wasn't going to be some long, extensive training. I talked in the very beginning on the reasons why you want to start a podcast, okay? I'm going to cover everything else in the Podcast Builders Network. Everything that's in my course, we're going to start taking a deep dive every single week and dissecting every single one of those modules. And no matter where you're at in the podcast launch journey, maybe you're already a podcaster, maybe you started a podcast and then you stop. Maybe your podcast sucks, pun intended. We can fix all of that if you're coachable and you're open to being in community, investing in yourself, just $97 a month. We're going to blow this thing out of the water. I'll be at 100 members by the end of the first quarter. That's the goal. 100 members by the end of the first quarter. By the end of 2025, I look to be at least, at a bare minimum, 300 to 500 members. I want to grow this thing out because I want to see people step into a completely different version of themselves because they made a decision to start a podcast. I want to see people step into a completely different version of themselves because they made a decision to invest in themselves and start a podcast. Listen, I feel qualified to tell you that podcasting will radically change your life and your business because I'm living proof. I've literally lived this for the past 14 years. And 8 of those 14 years, I've been helping people do that same thing with starting a podcast. And I can help you do the same exact thing. So this isn't a pitch. This is simply an offer for an opportunity for you to start doing what you know you need to be doing, what you've been thinking about doing. This is your opportunity to get off the bench and get into the game. So if you have questions about the program, I've been pretty thorough here on what it all entails and explains. 1 weekly coaching call, access to my course, access to the community, $97 a month. If you listen to what I tell you, you're going to be able to start a podcast. So hit me up, shoot me a DM, leave a comment below. I'll hit you back, answer your question to the best of my ability. Sign up today, podcastbuildersnetwork.com. I'll drop the link in the comments here. An email will go out shortly after here. You'll be hearing all about it all through the weekend and ongoing. We're just talking about this a lot on here. This is going to be a huge focal point for 2025 is building this community as well as continuing to grow the agency here at the Podcast Launch Lab. So I appreciate you guys' time. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know where I went on this video here, but I am not showing up in here. It's basically just my computer screen, but let's see here. No, that's not it. That's the preview. There we go. There we go. I was just talking behind the scenes. You were looking at a computer screen, but I appreciate everyone's attendance today. Thanks for showing up. Maybe you're watching the replay. I appreciate you watching that replay. Hit me up with any questions. I look forward to seeing you inside the Podcast Builders Network community. We're going to create a podcast. We're going to get out there and create some incredible things for 2025. I'll see you soon.